Here are 7 keyboard shortcuts that are going to make you edit 3 times faster. And these work no matter what editing program you use. They just might have different names for them. I wish I knew these shortcuts when I started my filmmaking journey because these are going to save you tons of hours in editing, especially over the length of your career. That way I would have been able to make more content in less time. And isn't that what we all want? This video is brought to you by Persona Music, but more on them later. First off, let's start with one of the most important keyboard shortcuts you're going to need to know when editing, and that's the navigation keys. The navigation keys are pretty much your up, down, left, right arrow keys on your keyboard. By default, going left or right moves the playhead by 1 frame, and using the up and down arrow keys will actually jump the playhead to the nearest edit. So you can see in edit is any of these lines in a clip, or when it just becomes a new clip. So in this next case, it's just when we get to these purple adjustment layers, that's the next edit. Now we can take this further by using the shift key, and we do shift left and right. You actually, instead of going 1 frame at a time, you go at 5 frames at a time. And this will become more useful when we cover some of the other shortcuts in this video, but it just allows you to navigate your timeline very accurately and very quickly. A quick note here is that for the up and down arrow keys, it will not jump to the next edit if that layer is not activated. So when we look here on the left-hand side of our timeline, you can see we have all of our layers, V1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But if I unselect V4 and V3, the next edit stops actually snapping to those edits. We can even disconnect 6 here, and you'll see when I go up, it's jumping to the next available clip, which in this case is on V2. So just keep that in mind. And finally, the last shortcut I want to cover is when you hold Alt, or on a Mac, it's Command, and you have a clip selected, you can actually move it frame by frame. So Command right moves the clip 1 frame, Command left moves the clip 1 frame. Or you can combine this with the Shift key, so Command Shift and then right, it moves the clip 5 frames. Once again, this just allows you to be very precise when moving and adjusting clips and moving around your timeline. All right, so the next most important keyboard shortcut you want to learn is the Cut tool. And that's not exactly the razor tool here where you're going to go select the razor tool, add a cut to the timeline, and then delete the clip you don't want, and then stretch out the clip to the length of where you need it. A much faster way of doing this is by using the Add Edit shortcut. And by default, this is actually, I believe, Command K, but I actually changed mine to just be C. So when I press C, you'll see a cut is applied directly where my playhead is, which is this blue line on your timeline. And it applies to all layers that are activated. So you'll see here, because I had everything activated, besides the audio track, there actually isn't a cut on the audio track, but there's a cut on everything else. And because we used cutting so often when we're editing, this is going to save you so much time than constantly switching to the razor tool, clicking on the timeline, and applying the cuts, and you have to apply it to all the different layers if there's a bunch of layers at that point. Instead, you can do it with just one single press of a keyboard. Just make sure that if you want something cut, the layer is activated. So in this case, I would activate the audio track and I would press C, and now we can see there is an actual cut there. Now, the next shortcut that you need to know is the ripple trim. And this one's a lot easier to show than it is to explain. But essentially, let's say I don't need anything from the left of my playhead here. I actually just want to get rid of all this in this section that I'm highlighting right now. Instead of cutting, selecting that section, deleting it, and then deleting the space to close the gap, there's a much easier way to do this. Instead, what we need to do is ripple trim to previous edit. And so you put your playhead to where you want the edit to happen, and with just a single press that I have hotkeyed to Q, and as you can see, with one single press, I have not only cut the clip, but I trimmed it and moved all my other clips to close that gap. And you can do this in the reverse direction. So that was to everything behind the playhead. If we want everything in front of the playhead to be deleted instead until next edit, you press W. Once again, these are my shortcuts, so let me show you how you can edit these and find them for yourself. So you can see we can type in ripple trim, and you'll see we have ripple trim to next edit, which I have set to W, and ripple trim previous as Q. But you can customize this to whatever keyboard button you want. These are just the ones that I like. In Final Cut Pro, they call it trim to start or end, and in Davinci, it's cut, head, or tail. And now in conjunction with our navigation keys, you can see we can get pretty precise where I'm just using Shift to go, Q to edit. I go to the next clip, I Shift, maybe I don't need this section, W, and I'm able to create a lot of edits really quickly without even using my mouse. But that's not all. One of the most important shortcuts I use pretty much all the time, especially when I'm editing these talking head videos, is adjusting the playback speed in the timeline. Normally, when you press the spacebar to play and edit in your timeline, it's going to play in regular speed, nothing special. But you don't want to be constantly playing at regular speed because in the edit, time is everything. And so usually what I'm doing is playing things at 2x speed. And this doesn't actually change the speed of the clip, it's just changing the playback. And these are called shuttle left or shuttle right. And I set mine to A and S respectively. So S is shuttle forward. You press it once, it plays at normal speed. But if you press it again, you play at double speed. And then for A, for shuttling left, you press it once to play backwards. You press it twice to go twice as fast. And 3 times for 4 times as fast, and so on. In Final Cut Pro, this is called reverse playback or forward playback. And in Davinci Resolve, it's called play forward or playback. Now that we talked about playback speed, let's actually talk about how to change the speed of a specific clip. In Premiere Pro, this is called speed duration. And I assigned mine to the G button. So with a clip selected, when I press G, I can open up the speed duration. In this menu, you have a few options. Of course, we can adjust the speed by percentage here, or you can change the duration by seconds and frames, which I typically don't do. I'm using percentage most of the time because I know what frame rate I'm capturing this footage. So in this example, I have a 60 frame per second clip and I want to make sure it plays back in slow motion at 24 frames per second. In this case, that's just simply 40%. And now you'll see the clip plays back in slow motion. We can revert it back so you can see how it looked before. This is called Retime Editor in Final Cut Pro and Retime Controls in Davinci Resolve. On that topic of speed, I want to bring up today's sponsor, Persona Music. Do you struggle finding the right music to fit the vibe in your videos? You know how long it can take to go find that right song in a sea of mediocre stock music libraries. That's where the sponsor of today's video, Persona Music, comes in. Some of the largest studios in Hollywood like Netflix, HBO, and Disney all use music from the Persona library. They even have their own AI search engine that helps you find the perfect track without scrolling in just seconds. And all the music is royalty free for you to use in your videos. Use my code and get 20% off your subscription. Now, super related but actually different tool is called the rate stretch tool. But instead of changing the speed directly, you're adjusting the length of the clip and the tool will automatically make the speed adjustment for you. And I personally really like using this for screen record tutorials just like this. And so here we have a screen recording and you can tell by the audio track, I was demoing something right here, but I don't need the whole viewer to sit through this, whatever this is, like a 10-second long demonstration. So what I can do is with the clip selected, I can select my straight retch tool, which is R. And by adjusting the end of the clip to last as long as I want, let's say I want it to be, I don't know, what is that, like 3 seconds? Boom. You'll see now that the playback is so much faster and has automatically adjusted the speed of the clip to make it this long. And if we select the clip and check the speed, you can see it added some weird random percentage just so we can get the exact duration we wanted, which in this case ended up being like 2 seconds. But yeah, I wouldn't be able to calculate that manually in my mind, so the rate stretch tool allows you to do that visually on the timeline. In Davinci Resolve, this tool is called the time stretch tool, and I could not find an equivalent in Final Cut Pro. The next keyboard shortcut you need to know is the apply default transitions. Instead of manually adding in transitions between, say, these audio files by going down here and dragging these bars and applying one there, and going to the next one and applying one there, you can do this across all of the audio clips on your timeline with this really quick shortcut. Simply select all the clips you want to apply this transition to. In this case, I want it to be on all of my audio files so that there's no pop in between them. And I set my apply default transitions to Shift D. And just like that, you can see now between all of my audio file transitions, there is a 2-second fade that is applied. And you can technically do this for your videos as well. You'll see here on the string of videos, I don't have any transitions. If I select them and hit Shift D, it'll apply the default transition, which in this case, I believe is a cross dissolve. You can set what this default transition is by actually going into the settings of Premiere Pro, go to Timeline, and you'll see here on the very top, we have video transition default duration, which is just setting actually the length of it, which I put at half a second, which in this case is 12 frames. And for the audio, I put it for 2 frames just to get rid of that pop in case I missed it in the audio files. But to actually change the transition that you want it to apply, you go to the transition you'd like. So let's go to video transitions. Let's say instead of dissolve, we want a dip to black. You just hit right click and you can hit select as default transition. And now when we do the same trick, select all these and hit Shift D, we should have a dip to blacks between them. I personally really like cross dissolve as my default, so I'm going to set it back. And this keyboard shortcut is called Add Transition in Davinci Resolve and Add Default Transition in Final Cut Pro. So these are the essential keyboard shortcuts everyone needs to know if they want to edit faster. I use these keyboard shortcuts in pretty much every single video I edit, so they've been super useful to me. But what keyboard shortcuts do you use on a daily basis that make you edit faster? Leave it in the comment section below so we can all learn and grow together. If you want to know the best plugins so you can edit even faster, then you can check out my latest video on that here. Thank you so much for watching all the way until the end. I appreciate every single one of you who do, and I'll see you in that next video. Peace.